Right now, though, let's talk to Mark Borkowski, PR guru to the stars, a man who knows a thing or two about fame, how to get it, how to lose it, what to do with it. Because ITV has been the big story this week. Of course, Holly and Phil this morning. What's happening? They've lost 170,000 viewers apparently this week alone. All sorts of rumours flying around about Phillip Schofield and what he's been doing over and above what he was doing in front of the cameras. We've got Holly Willoughby supposedly not speaking to him. We've got him calling in lawyers to protect his reputation. ITV's very much on the ropes. Mark, a very good afternoon to you. It's quite a story, isn't it?
Is it, Mike? That's a good question. It shows just how important this format is, because we've been talking about it for 3 days. I noted that the story was starting to abate, and I think that that's what the newspapers don't particularly want. They want this feud. They want this soap opera. Look, I've been dealing with television programs for many, many years, some in crisis, and figures pitch and dip. And I think that it wasn't that long ago we were calling for the death of This Morning, or certainly Holly and Phil, because of Q-gate and jumping the queue until Fawkes put out the statistics that 799 journalists jumped the queue. So they rode that storm, and I think ITV are good at roding the storm. The issue for me is...
No, hang on a minute. Are they, though? Because it hasn't been going right for them ever since that episode, I think.
Oh, I don't know. I would slightly disagree with that. Look, the bigger question is this duo over? Phil Schofield and Holly Willoughby, whatever her name is.
Holly Willoughby, I like that. Sounds better.
Has been drifting on for ages. And I think that, the question is, they're not short of a few very good candidates to fill that role. I mean, loads of names are being touted around at the moment. And I think that this is more about the secret battle between agents and PRs who are feeding their sources. It would seem that Phil Schofield opts for a sort of DIY PR approach. Holly Willoughby's got some very astute people. But the bottom line is every partnership sooner or later runs out of steam. And I think there's ITV will do whatever they can to protect the format, because we're all talking about it.
Yes, but I think the other thing that you've put your finger on there, perhaps inadvertently, is that it's the managers and the PRs and the lawyers that are keeping it all going. It's not ITV may or may not want to keep it going. The press may or may not want to keep it going. But the people who are keeping it going are the people who talk to the papers about what's really going on, and you know that as well as I do.
Of course, that is the issue at the moment. And I think that listen, as soon as it was announced that Schofield was turning to our legal friends for reputational help, you just think, you're showing your colours here. That's not what you do.
Yes.
You are just going to pay a very heavy bill for a lawyer to be firing off letters where a PR man might be able to more stealthily deliver for you.
Yes.
Look, this is about charisma. These people spend a lot of time in audiences' homes. So, the F factor in terms of this type of partnership is a believability and authenticity. And as soon as that's rocked, people look at it and think, look, are you for real?
Yeah.
And I think this is the problem, that people have been looking to this duo and think, like, is this relationship real? They no longer supposedly, according to the PR spin, go on holiday together. There's been a fallout because of, supposedly, again, what's the truth of it, of Holly's being upset about the conviction of his brother. Schofield was the golden boy, and I think, Mike, as we all know, sooner or later it's tarnished, and the clever people are leaping from lily pad to lily pad, looking at the next point in their career, but they're wedded to this format, and I think ITV would look at this as an opportunity rather than a crisis.
Yes. Oh, I think so. But the longer that nothing happens, I suppose, the ITV run the risk of being accused of not doing anything. And at the moment, what we know is 170,000 people have deserted the show. Also, I'm told that whenever Holly and Phil aren't on it, they don't really lose audience. So it's the format, as we found with the One Show. Remember when Christine Blakely and the other guy who left at the time when they thought they were going to be going over to ITV and building a new career, suddenly the One Show stayed exactly where it was, and in fact it went up a bit. And Adrian Charles and Christine Blakely kind of didn't go anywhere.
Well, it's the same old, same old. I mean, in the sense that we've seen all this sort of fuss about Ken Bruce leaving, you know, and, you know, I remember the same fuss when Terry Wogan left the same spot, you know. Sooner or later, audiences come back because it's about familiarity. So the audiences want good entertainment, and if you've got two celebrities that can give you good entertainment rather than reading about negative stories in the press, and I think ITV should be having a stern word with PRs and agents to say stop feuding this because they want to protect the format. But no, who knows? Look, I think ITV rode the Hughgate storm. Effectively, people calling, saying the time audiences dropped. No, they didn't. Advertisers going to leave. No, they didn't. The latest rubbish at the moment is that celebrities are no longer going to take part in the programme. What utter rubbish is that? Because there are few programmes that give you that audience, that live audience, middle market, mid-morning audience that you need when you're trying to promote something. So it might be a short-term sort of blip, but sooner or later, publicists and agents will want their talent on it because it's an important visibility moment in the time of the day for an audience that they need.
Yeah. But TV is a ridiculous business, and I speak as somebody who now apparently is in it, because the way that people react to things is completely unlike the way that they reacted any other place in any other part of the world, you know, and people have rows with one another. They have these kind of behind-the-scenes, you know, rivalries that you never know about. I mean, I find it hilarious, for example, that we're told, and I believe it, that Holly and Phil basically don't speak to each other except for when they're on camera. And when they're on camera, they're attempting to look as if they're the best of buddies, and I find that hilarious.
Well, if that is true, that is a sign of a serious issue because, as I said, it's about authenticity, people authenticity. That's why social media is so powerful now because you have your channel. You know, look at how Piers Morgan used effectively at the downturn of Good Morning when he flipped. Look, this is the thing. I mean, you can't dismiss the two situations. You know, Piers Morgan was more or less dismissed from his job at ITV because he refused to apologise for, in his words, telling the truth. Because, you know, the chief exec got a letter from Meghan Markle saying that she needed an apology. Well, it wasn't just that, it was advertisers as well, which obviously ITV got to be a party to. But look, you know, Piers Morgan has more followers on his social channels than ITV have on their Good Morning audience. Right. So obviously that you have a riposte, you can tell your crowd what you want to do. He's pretty thick-skinned and he's pretty opinionated, and I think that's what you need to be if you're going to be successful on social media. But look, when you go back to figures, I mean, I can remember a time when I used to rep Noel Edmonds, and at the end of the Late Breakfast show, TV correspondents and tabloids were pulling apart those sort of figures. I mean, things dip, things move forward. It's different now because you can't really get the same share as when you had maybe 3 or 4 channels. Everything is on catch-up or whatever, so you can fiddle around the figures as much as you want. But the bottom line is if advertisers start walking, then you've got a problem. Yes. And I don't see that, and I certainly didn't see that at Hughgate. But if this enmity is long going, then I'd be looking. Look, ITV love Holly Willoughby. She's a great look and she's a girl next door, and there'll be no shortage of formats for either of them in some sense. But I mean, you know, now is the time to unstick their partnership. Perhaps that's what their agents are looking at. And maybe there's more to this than meets the eye. I always look at these kerfuffles and I think, there's another story we don't know here. And
well, that's right. And I think there is a certain tipping point as well. And I think, you know, as you say, the front page of The Sun is still very much an influencer in these matters. And Holly and Phil, in some way, shape or form, have been on the front page of The Sun every day this week. Holly's safe but set to go, it says this morning. And I'm told that there is a 10% drop in advertising revenue at ITV in the first 3 months of this year. Also, we've got the situation where over in today's Prime Minister's Questions, Oliver Dowden apparently has called Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner the Phil and Holly of British politics. So, I mean, that'll stick as well, won't it?
Is that a compliment or is that...
I don't think so. I don't think that was meant.
But look, I mean, yes, it all come down to that. But they got some smart people editing that programme. They won't panic. They'll be looking at the social media as a bit of a storm. But ultimately, you know, they have the power to reshape and remake this programme. And I think ultimately this morning's format is more important than Holly Willoughby or even Phillip Schofield, and that's a hard truth.
Yeah, and I think you'd probably, if you were a betting man, you'd probably say that come the new season, after everybody's taken 1 million weeks off for the summer, which is another thing they seem to do in TV land, there might be 2 different people at the helm.
Well, they can look at different people. They can try people. You know, I think O'Leary's done it. Look, it's very difficult to, come up every morning, be bright and breezy, capture the nation's conversation.
I don't have any problem doing it.
Yeah, you're a wizard old hand, Mike. You know what's going on, really.
Backhanded compliment if ever I heard one.
You got a point of view. I mean, sort of, limp, sort of anodyne, sort of mediocre stuff is slightly more different.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
No, you couldn't do that.
Yeah, but then have they talked about the soon-to-be invasion of wasps in this country? What they should be doing is talking to their audience. People care about these things.
Wasps, tomatoes, rain.
Migrants.
These are things that matter.
Yeah,
that's what matters. Price of tomatoes.
Yeah, you can't just go. You can't just kind of do that and go, everything's great, isn't it? Don't talk to him, but for the moment, I'm going to look really, really happy.
Look, I think that if you go back to mid-morning TV was a little bit of a perhaps not taken as seriously, but it's proved to be very, very important for channels, just as breakfast has been.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more competition, for ears and eyes now, from podcasts to multiple channels like yourself or whatever. People can go to where they feel secure and they hear what they want to hear.
Right.
And if there's any stench of I'm coming back again to authenticity, then audiences walk. And that's what we'll come back to at the moment. It's a very competitive world. It depends. If you think of Phil Schofield, was very, very one of the first adopters of Twitter and was very powerful on Twitter. And I think gave that up and saw it being too toxic because it didn't sort of fit with his brand. But we don't want vanilla these days, Michael, do we? We want something that has a sort of bit of grit in the oyster, and that's what people want.
I think so. I think you've absolutely nailed it. Mark, thank you very much indeed. Mark Borkowski there on the whole shenanigans surrounding Phil and Holly. If they're going to mention it, Prime Minister's questions, if they're on the front page of The Sun for 3 days, I think you can pretty much say that, and they're trending, by the way, as well, every day on Twitter. That ain't good news for the people that run This Morning. It ain't good news for them at all. And the Daily Mail Online, she's written a piece in which she says that Holly Willoughby says that she's going to leave This Morning early. So we'll see how that all comes about. We shall see whether that's reported or whether it's actually something that she has said.